Hey, I have been out 2 days and I'm out again today. I just wanted to let you know that I've been thinking about you. I miss our class and I miss you guys. I hope everyone is doing really well. That said, gentlemen, and I'm looking at my gentleman in the back, have you been slacking off? I am asking you, please be responsible, follow directions, watch this video, take notes, get your study guide done, and do the practice, okay? I will be back next class. I'm finishing up the SOL review, and I'll return, and we'll be super happy to see you, okay? When I come back next class, you will have the test for this unit. So especially today, I need you to lock in, pay attention, do your practice, and finish your study guide. I appreciate you. So, with all of that said, let's take a look at a couple of surface area and volume questions. I've given you this practice activity, all right? And you need to answer each of these questions up here and on the bottom. There's coloring on the back. I know some of you hate coloring, so you don't have to, but it's there if you feel like doing some relaxing coloring. Let's go through a couple of the volume questions, and this will also mean that you'll have to do less work on your own, okay? Why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to pick one cylinder question, and I'm also going to pick one pyramid question because those tend to be the most challenging. So the first thing that I do whenever I look at a new problem, and I'm going to do problem number 3, you should have your paper out and be following along. Problem number 3, I try to identify the shape. I notice that it has one base down here, and it comes to a point on its opposite end. So one end is a square by the looks of it, and if I go across, the other end is a dot. It comes to a point. That makes it a pyramid, okay? And specifically, over to the side, I'm going to draw my base. It's a square-based pyramid. It is always a good idea to sketch your base out. This should be your next step because you want to label it because there's probably some calculations that you're going to have to do, okay? After I've found my base, I've drawn my base shape, I've identified it as a square in a pyramid, I'm going to use my formula sheet and I'm going to find the formula for the shape that I have. Here's my formula sheet, and if I look, these are flat. This is got rectangles everywhere, no points. That looks like circular. That looks circular. If I go down here, this looks close, except for it's got two bases, one on the bottom and the top. This looks really good. See how it's got a bottom base and it comes to a point? They also have one for triangles and cylinders. One thing to remind you about, and if you haven't already done this, when you're doing the formulas for cylinders, cross out this volume formula. You want to use this volume formula, not that one. But for right now, we're going to be using the formula for the volume of a triangular pyramid, or a square-based pyramid. That's 1/3 base times height. So I have the appropriate formula. Remember, we're just having to calculate volume for this set of problems of 6. I'm going to write down my formula. 1/3 base times height. Volume is equal to 1/3 base, big B, times the height. Then I'm going to need to write down the letters that I need in my formula. So the base, the big B, is the first letter I see, and that is area of the base. I'm going to have to calculate that one. Remember, pain in the butt. B and P, we have to calculate using the base. Okay? The other letter that I see here is an H. And if it's not a B or a P, then it should be coming from the pyramid or the prism itself. In this case, it's the height. And the height is the distance between the two bases, or the distance from the base to the top. Okay, so I know my height. I can figure that out quite easily, is equal to 7. All right, so now I have that. For the area of the base, I'm going to have to calculate area of a square. So I'm going to be using my square, because that's my base. And if I am not entirely sure how to find the area of a square, I can look back over here. Edge, edge, area of a square, just length times width. Easy peasy. So I'm going to do length, which is 12, times width, which is 12. 12 times 12 is 144, so now I have my area of the base. At this point, you can put it into Desmos. You could type in 1/3 B, H, add sliders, and put in 144 and 7 for B and H respectively. All right. Because I don't have Desmos available, I'm just going to go ahead and plug it in and say that I have 1/3 times my area of the base, which we said was 144, times my height, which I said was 7. When I calculate that out, I should get a volume, which is equal to 336 feet cubed. 336 feet cubed. You can check your answers at the very, very bottom of the sheet. You should see that at the bottom, I've got 336. That must mean that I've done it right. If you get an answer and it doesn't match one at the bottom, go back and check again. That also means that the color associated with it is dark blue. So any number 3s on my sheet, on the back, I'd color dark blue. Let's go over one more volume question, and then we'll tackle surface area. I'm also going to show you one cylinder. Let's take a look at number 5, because that one's a little challenging. One of the things you might notice about number 5, it has circles on the ends. Those are my bases. So here I have 2 bases, not a base and a point, which makes it a prism. Okay? So start by identifying it. It's a cylinder. Then you're going to draw a little version of your base over to the side. I like to color it in, same color that I highlighted. It helps. Okay? And then I also like to label it. Do you see how the line goes all the way across? So I'm going to draw a line all the way across. Line all the way across when it looks like a Pokeball is actually your diameter. So my diameter is 15. Okay? Then I'm going to use my formula sheet to find the volume formula for a cylinder. I go over to my formula sheet. I find the picture of a cylinder, and I need volume, pi r squared times height. I write down my formula. Volume is equal to pi times the radius squared times height. And then my next step is to see which variables I need and make sure that I have those values available. So the first value that I see is my radius. And I don't actually have to calculate that, but I do need to make sure that I'm not using diameter. So I'm going to write down radius over here. And radius is 2 diameters. A radius goes from one edge of the circle to the center. We have something that goes all the way across. So I'm going to take half of my diameter to find my radius. And half of the diameter would be 7.5. 7.5 plus 7.5 makes the diameter of 15. The other figure, the other value that we need, again, is height. Okay? And remember that the height is the distance between the 2 bases. It just so happens that if you see a can of Coke lying on its side like this, you know it's lying down, right? This is a soda that's been knocked over. But its height would be the distance between the 2 ends, right? The height would be the distance between the circles, the distance between the 2 bases. So our height here is actually 11. At this point, I would type it into Desmos. I wouldn't type in the V equals. I'd just type in pi r squared times height. And then I'd click Add Slider, and I'd enter 7.5 for the radius and 11 for height. Since I don't have Desmos easily available to show you, I'm just going to fill it in and say that pi times my radius squared of 7.5 times my height of 11. And what I would end up with is a volume that is equal to 1,943.9 and that would be meters cubed, because we're talking volume. Then I'm going to head down to the bottom of the sheet, and I'm going to say, hey, does that actually match one of the answers I've been provided? Sure does. Awesome. Okay, let's run through surface area really quick. I'm going to just show you one surface area problem because I don't want this video to take forever. And I'm going to show you one of the pyramids because I think those are the most challenging. All right, so let's do surface area of a pyramid. We just did volume. But the process is going to be the same. The first thing that I'm going to do is find my base. My base looks like a square. So I'll draw my square out to the side and I'll label it. Okay, that's 14 by 14. Looks like a square to me. Then I go over to my formula sheet, and this time I'm going to be looking for the surface area of a pyramid. And the surface area is 1/2 slant height times perimeter plus the area of the base. If you forget what the letters mean, they're listed down here at the bottom as well. Okay, so I'm going to write down my formula, which is that surface area is equal to 1/2 times the slant height times the perimeter plus the area of the base. Now this is a little bit annoying because there's going to be a couple letters here we're going to have to calculate. Okay, when I look through my letters, anytime I see something that is a P or a B, it's going to have to be calculated. But the first one I come to is my L. L is different from H. H, or height, would be if I went from the very center of the figure straight up like an elevator. Okay? L, on the other hand, which I'll write down over here, is the slant height, or the distance I'd have to travel from the base of this mountain to the top if I walked up the side. Slant height. And the slant height here is 14. The next one I have in my list is P, and P is going to be the perimeter of the base. Remember that perimeter is the edges along the outside. So to find the perimeter of this base, I'm adding together 14 plus 14. If this one's 14 and 14, this is 14, this is 14, right? So 14 plus 14 plus 14 plus 14, adding them together, right? 14 plus 14 plus 14 plus 14, 4 14s, which would be equal to 56. Okay? Then I'm going to find my area of the base, which I also have to calculate from this base shape. Perimeter of the base comes from there, and so does area of the base, or that big B. Both of those have to be calculated from the base. Area of the base, as we realized last time, is length times width. So this would be 14 times 14, which would be equal to 196. At this point, you're going to go to Desmos, now that you have all the numbers that you need, and you're going to type in, not the SA equals part, but the 1/2 LP plus B. Then hit Add Slider, and under L, you type 12, P, you type 56, B, you type 169, and it will give you your answer. I'm just going to go ahead and write it out since I don't have Desmos easily available to show you again. So 1/2 times the slant height of 14 times the perimeter of the base, which is equal to 56, plus the area of the base, which is 196. Okay, so once I have found all of those and entered them in, oh, I just realized the slant height here is actually 16, not 12. My apologies. So slant height, 16. Let me make that change. Sorry about that. So slant height of 16, make sure to make that adjustment. Then when I put it in my calculator, what I should get is that surface area is equal to 644 feet squared. Okay? That should be your answer, and you should be able to find that down at the bottom. Okay? All right. Remember, please be responsible today. I hope you filled in these 3 questions. I'd like you to finish questions 1, 2, 4, and 6 at the top, and 7, 8, 10, 11, 12 on the bottom, and turn it in. I'd also like you to finish your study guide on Schoology, those 8 questions. Remember, the answers are on the pink sheets on the board, and I'd really like you to try the problem before taking a look at that sheet to confirm your answer, or at least try it, and then if you get stuck, check the process up there. I will speak to you next class, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.